Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series Round 2, and we are here at Monza. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the commentary box, the one, the only, we have got Tristan Herbst. Tristan, welcome to Monza, and welcome to Round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. Gonna be an interesting one. All the drivers had to wait it out a little bit longer due to servers being down, but we managed to figure out a backdoor way to getting it up and going.
Yeah, absolute props to the admins working in the background. Managed to get the servers, backdoor servers back up so that we can see some racing tonight. And yeah, welcome from my side as well, guys. Glad to be back in the com box with Steven, but we're hoping for a clean and good race. As we mentioned, this is our sprint series, so we're looking at a 15-minute quali, followed by a 45-minute race with no pit stops. So lots of intensity, not really too much time to think about strategy, as there isn't really much. Only pit stops that'll be happening this race will be anything relating to damage. So most of the time we're going to be seeing all action out on track.
Yeah, it's going to be a epic one, and the drivers having to get their head back into the game for this one as they fight their way through. Going to be an interesting one, but at the top of the charts, no surprise though, driver that got first place the first time, Henry Mayer, up with a 147.1. Crystals in second place. Johan Kleinhans running in third. Fourth, Werner Skuman. Fifth, Dean Okier. Keep an eye out on the driver. He's been improving the whole way through and was a contender for the podium in round 1 at Laguna Seca. Jaco Kutza running in sixth. Ryan Barrington-Smith in seventh, followed by Mordred Claessens, Paul Venter, Brandon Holthazen, Gerrit Bucas, along with Gerry van Zeel in 12th. 13th, Jason Farmer, Peter Meyer, Ruan Kleinhans, Reginald Mutelani, Eric Kirstein, Fleming Bauer, Veertier Buerta, Johan Verveers, Jean Verveers, along with Jude Neville, Bertus Hugo going and returning to the track as well. Tiernis Buerta in 24th, Mark Henneberry in 25th, 26th, Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, Ruan Ferree, Henry Platt, and Davy Dreyer rounding out our 29-car field here tonight, looking to properly send it to the top. Gotta say, very, very close racing we saw in round 1 at Laguna Seca, where it was back and forth in qualifying. Looks like it's a little bit calmer this time around, Tristan.
Absolutely, but we're going to slowly start to see some domination. I don't know if you guys can see near the top 5 there. We've already got 3 Ford Mustangs topping out in the top 5. That's due to their incredibly high top speed, especially at the Speed Demon track of Monza with the two long straights. Actually, I think it's 3 or 2. That Ford Mustang carries a lot of speed down the straights, and that's giving it great assistance to carry it to the top of the chart. So absolutely great racing. As Steven mentioned, a little bit calmer compared to last week. Last week looking a little bit messy with the Looney Laguna Seca. Obviously loads of sand traps covering around the track. Much calmer track today, lots of less turns, but drivers still have to keep somewhat form of focus in this race. You know, there's still lots on the line, there's still a whole championship ahead of them, and they can't be throwing anything out too early.
Well, you got to have a chat to a couple of the drivers from your team, going and asking their thoughts. What's the consensus in the pit for Monza? A high degradation on tires, a definite speed circuit where it's all about low aero and relying purely on mechanical grip to claw your way through. What's the ideas down in the pits? Is there any concerns of whether the driver's going to be able to up those levels for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship? Well, for the sprint series here on a Wednesday evening? Or do you think all the drivers are pretty relaxed at the moment?
I think for the time being, drivers should be pretty relaxed, as you said. Monza being a high tire degradation track, and we're also looking at a pretty hot track tonight, relatively high temperatures that we're looking at. So thankfully, no pit stops in the sprint race, so drivers don't have to worry too much about trying to save tires and potentially go for undercuts and overcuts. So that at least alleviates a little bit of stress going into round 2 of the RaceFace GT3 PokerBet Sprint Series. But yeah, the drivers are constantly going to need to be making those last split decisions on track. No pit stops will be needed due to it being a sprint. So I think down at the pit wall, it's all just going to be trying to get as low downforce as possible. As we mentioned, Monza is the speed demon of the circuits in the Assetto Corsa competition calendar. Long straights, not really few turns, not a lot of turns, and those straights are kind of where it matters the most. It's going to be where you're going to get most of your positions. It's going to be where you're going to start catching someone in front of you. So vital to have that top speed over some of the other drivers.
Well, it's very interesting to see all the drivers making up a bit of time, but Parabolica is one that tends to drop the drivers a little bit further down the order. So one thing we've got to keep an eye out for is how much steering angle they're using through Parabolica to get it all sorted out. How much are they dropping off in doing so? But with 6 minutes and 33 seconds left of qualifying, it is an outright run to the line. The track temperature you did bring up as well. It's a lovely 30 degrees Celsius here at Monza, but the track temperature sitting at 35 degrees. So it means those tire pressures are going to be through the roof. But one person has put it all the way through the roof is Henry Mayer with a 147.052 on his way to the top, which is absolutely incredible in the amount of pace that he's able to extract out of that McLaren.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing Henry Mayer currently with a 147 flat, and on such a high tire degradation track, especially with the heat, setting a constant and fast lap can be quite punishing, especially with the amount of focus. And I mean, in these cars, especially with the tire degradation and the hot surface, you're going to see those rear ends start to slip out. The tires are going to start sliding underneath you. You're not going to feel like you're in that much control of the car anymore as the tires start to slowly lose grip. But I mean, it's going to be quite a challenge for these drivers to maintain. But thankfully, as you mentioned, 5 minutes left of quali. It's now going to be the last couple of pushes. Drivers might, pull it in and say, cool, that's enough for me. I can't get any faster. But other drivers, such as Jehan Kleinans, 0.29 seconds away from Henry Mayer, it's definitely pushable, Stephen.
That's going to be an incredible run to the line, that is for certain. I've got to say, our drivers are having to pull every rabbit out of the bag for this one to bring themselves that little bit closer to hunt down the lap time. So far, everyone looking at those 147s all the way down till 12th position, all sitting with 127 marks, so all under a second of one another. But that's where it also gets a bit tricky, is are they pushing it a little bit too hard, getting a bit overconfident with the cars as they think, okay, this is all working out in my favor right now. I can give that little bit more beans. But we do know the start of the race is always the trickiest part of them all.
100%. The start of the race is going to see drivers having to put as much focus as they can to not cause any form of damage. Monza especially, people like to go balls to the walls on first turn. We've seen so many people try to...
like Jason Farmer just did.
Ferrari.
Yeah, that was Jason Farmer trying to find that extra 0.1 of a second. And you said, well, give it everything he's got till he gets across the line. Well, that's exactly what happens if you go and push it way over the boundaries and get a rocket to the moon. Reginald Mutileni, though, up 0.1 of a second on his lap time through Sector 1 and Sector 2. And Ryan Free also going and increasing his time. He's 0.1 up in that last sector as well. Kerry Van Zale, 0.2 up on his last lap time. Can he carry it through? Will it jump him up? Yes, it does, into that top 10. And he's able to go and smile to the bank on that run. Absolutely monumental running from all our drivers. Bucas, unfortunately, going and putting it into the dirt. He's not able to get that increase. But Henry Mayer still on a charge to try and get into the 146 mark. He's got to try and knock off 0.052 to get into that 46 mark. Not an easy thing to do, but if you're on a low tank, it may be just enough to get you to creep in. And, well, going to be smiling to the bank on that one.
Absolutely, and I mean, everyone should already be aware of track evolution. It happens everywhere. And as the track starts to get cars driving on it more and more, the track starts to evolve. It starts to become slightly faster. People start getting a little bit more in tune. So that's exactly why, I mean, you see people like Henry Mayer trying to push for that sub 147. Some people think, why does he need to push for a sub 147? He's currently sitting in first. But that just proves the competition that you see here at RaceFace. There's always a chance that you might lose the position you've got, and you have to push it down straight to the line. So we've got 2.5 minutes left of this qualifying session. Drivers are not going to give up now. Even if they've got the position that they were wanting, they can do better. But the scary thing is, besides from doing better, they can get their position taken away from someone else trying to do better. And that's always the scare during qualifying, is that you can't just start lacking once you've set a lap. You have to continuously keep going until you see that checkered flag being waved, Stephen.
Well, that's it. You got to try your best and leave nothing on the table. I mean, last thing you want to do is go and gently plod around the track, not improve your lap time, and think, oh, well, I've done just enough just to be beaten up by 0.001 of a second. As we saw at Laguna Seca, that was back and forth throughout the top running order in the first place. But now this is where it comes in. Do you want to push your luck? The drivers are tired. It is 9:45 this evening here on a Wednesday in South Africa, where the drivers are trying to push themselves a little bit more out of the comfort zone. They're a little bit worn out. Those eyes are getting very, very tired on the way through as well. That's going to change the entire race for it, because now they've got to try and get it into gear for a 45-minute sprint race, which requires you to be absolutely on the ball, money after money, on the limit every single point of the way. Apex and exits have to be absolutely perfect on the way through as well. Not an easy thing to do right here at Monza, because missing out your brake marker by even 2 meters is an extra 10 kilometers you didn't want to carry into a corner.
Exactly, I couldn't have said it better. Another issue with Monza, I mean, it's the fact that there's only so few corners that you can actually improve lap time on, and Monza's a little bit of one of those little trickery kind of tracks, because you have so much peace and passivity on the straights, and you head into a violent T1 where you have to throw that car as well as you can to try and gain a couple of tenths, and then again you sit in a little bit of a straight doing nothing, keeping the wheel straight, and boom, another chicane comes. You've got to do the chicane properly, or else you lose a load of time. So that's another issue with Monza, is that it's not something that is easy to continuously keep focus. You might think so because it's it's a simple track, but those couple of corners in the track can sometimes throw drivers off. But as we're speaking, about 5 seconds left of qualifying now, people are going to be on their final flying laps, trying to push for those final couple of positions before the end of qualifying. As Stephen mentioned, there's a sprint that follows this, which means there is no pit stops. There's no real room for mistakes, so people have to be on the ball. They have to know what they're doing. They have to get the positions when they can, and that's why qualifying matters so much.
Well, Crystal's currently the fastest out on circuit. Some of the fastest lap times are being done by him. Can he put himself into first place and steal Henry Mayer's run for the top of the podium? Well, he's 0.3 up on the rest of the field. Exiting Parabolica, wheels straight, absolutely pinning it to the ground, and does so. Crystal's taking first place away from Henry Mayer in the last dying seconds of the qualifying, and I've got to say, absolutely tremendous stuff. But Henry Mayer will be kicking himself once confident with his lap time. Unfortunately, this time getting beaten out by Crystals, a 1:47.005 right at the line.
Absolutely, and I mean that's exactly what we were talking about. It's not over until that man at the pit lane starts waving the checkered flag, and we see it, for example, now. Crystals taking first place by not even 2,000ths of a second, not even 200ths of a second from Henry Mayer. And I mean that's like you say, frustration. Henry Mayer sitting in the pit lane thinking, okay, cool, I've got it down, I don't think anyone's going to take this lap time, and all of a sudden someone crosses the line and you've lost the place. That's exactly how racing works. That's exactly how quick things can change, and that's exactly why it's so entertaining to watch, because things can change whenever they need to. And qualifying closes, and Steven's going to run you through the results for the qualifying session.
Yeah, so as we are waiting for the drivers to line up and get themselves back to the grid, Crystals will be starting out in first place. Henry Mayer in second, Fleming Bauer in third, Johan Kleinans in fourth, Werner Skuman in fifth, Paul Venter in sixth place. 1:47.005 was what it was meant to be. So going to be a proper run, 45 minutes of racing, and it is going to be a run to the line throughout it all. So let's move over to the track for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. And after that beautiful transition showing off PokerBet and what they've been doing, 100,000 Rand in cash and PokerBet credits on the line for our GT3 Sprint Series. And I do want to point out that PokerBet at the moment is running a monster activity that you need to go and take a look at. South Africa is sending a strong contingent of 149 athletes to compete in 21 different spots. And PokerBet will be rewarding you for every medal earned by South Africa in the Olympics. Place bets on the Olympics markets from today and you'll start earning entries into the draw to win your share of at least 20,000 Rand at the end of the Olympic Games. And we're also increasing the size of the prize pool by 5,000 Rand for every gold medal SA wins, with 2,500 Rand for every silver and 1,000 for every bronze brought home by our Olympic champions. And PokerBet going and raising the stakes for you to win some fantastic prizes. So if you wish to try it out, you wish to go and test your luck, well, it's the best time to do so with PokerBet. But let's take a look down to our grid and take a look at what's happening for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series, with Crystals out in first place, Henry Meyer in second, Fleming Bauer in third, Johan Kleinans in fourth, followed by Werner Skuman, Paul Venter, Jaco Kutzer, Mordred Claessens, Jason Farmer, Dean Nokia, Brandon Holthazen, Ryan Barrington-Smith, Kerry Finsale, Daniel De Villiers, Gerrit Bucas, Ruan Kleinans, Tiernas Buerta, Mark Hedderbury, Vietia Buerta, Peter Meyer, Eric Herstein in 21st, Ruan Free in 22nd, Jude Neville, Sean Verfiers, Reginald Mutalani, Ruan van der Walt, Henry Platt, Bertus Hugo, and Davy Dreyer rounding out our 29 car field, as our leaders are already starting to pull off. Henry Meyer in second place, going to be looking at the back of a Mustang. Johan Kleinans for Delta Negative, looking to stand up at the top of the charts. Fleming Bauer in third place will be backing up his teammate to try and get involved. Johan Kleinans will be looking to go onto the back of Chris Stolz to try and back him up. Werner Skuman will be the lone Mustang. His teammates, unfortunately, 2 cars back. He has to deal with Paul Venter and Jaco Kutzer before even Mordred Claessens can get onto the back of him and get into the fight. So Jason Farmer also in the mix. Don't count him out. He's looking to try and fight it out till the very end. Dean Nokia, who has been going and working tremendously hard to improve his lap times all the way through. I mean, Tristan, this is an absolutely banger field. Lots going on. Not only that we've got the prize money online for our drivers, but also an opportunity for those wanting to go and win during the Olympic Games. It's a great time to be here with PokerBet and RaceFace.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, Stephen. And I mean, it's great to see the commitment from some of these drivers, considering that we had so many connection issues from the ACC side of things. And I mean, we've still got a pretty stacked grid of 29 drivers here. So we're ready to witness some pretty good racing here at Monza. Looking at the front of the grid, as you mentioned, Chris Stoltz starting in first. He's going to have Henry Meyer looking up the backside of him saying, I want my position back. I'm going to fight you for it. We're going to do it clean. We're going to do it hard, but we're going to do it proper. And Henry Meyer is going to have to fight that Mustang. As we mentioned, that thing has got some amazing top speed. So going the finish line being on the main straight, the Mustang is going to have the advantage, having that top speed advantage over the McLaren. I don't think it's too much of an advantage, but he is going to be able to drag a bit. But he might be able to drag his teammate behind him and potentially add a little bit of teamwork into the play. And as soon as you bring teamwork into the entire ecosystem of racing, it starts to become very interesting, Stephen.
Well, we cannot count out the big elephant in the room is Monza's T1 that everyone knows all too well. That is a Russian roulette by itself, especially with GT3 racing, as the concertina effect is absolutely nightmare for all those running a little bit further back. Suddenly your brake marker is not the 150 meter board, it's not the 200 meter board, it's actually the 350 meter board before you can even climb onto the, when you're standing on the anchors. So that is going to be something that all the drivers are going to have to be well aware of into turn 1. And I got a question, is it better to be in first place, second, well, the top row, lying in first or second, or do you feel that being at the back of the field is going to be the stronger option?
That's actually a very good discussion, because it really depends on the driving style of the entire pack. I mean, you could sit in the front pack, get a great launch. If everything stays clean, you've got yourself a nice stable position going forwards for the rest of the race. But if accidents do happen and you're involved, you are not going to have a good time. You're going to have to wait for an entire grid to pass you before you can get racing again. Whereas staying at the back, you could potentially try and avoid things. But again, if no incidents happen, you just sit in the same dead last position like a little duck. So it's kind of a decision you have to make, Stephen.
Well, it's 70 kilometers an hour. Round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. Lights on. And we getting ready to go racing. Chris out in first place, gets the jump over Henry Mayer, but Henry's going to come back at him and does everything he can. Stuck on the outside. It does look like Fleming Bauer's looking to join the party, going defensive, trying to hold back Werner Skuman, who's gone up on the inside, trying to find his way past, and there is the braking zone. Bauer going and swinging the nose out very, very wide. Paul Venter going and taking the option to go right round, but it does look like a bit of contact. Tianis Burta getting turned round in the mix there. Unfortunately, that's not going to help him out. Couple of cars getting caught out with that concertina effect coming into play. But Chris Hills, from first to second, has now got Henry Mayer way ahead of him. Fleming Bauer going and battling out against Johan Kleinans. So the two teammates now are together once again. Fleming Bauer a little bit further down than planned. Dean O'Keefe up into the likes of 5th position from that run, being pressurized from Werner Skuman, who's all over the back of him, trying to figure out how to get past. Paul Venter venturing out into the distance. Now is Jaco Kutzer up on the inside. The McLaren beautifully gets it tucked in. Unfortunately, the Aston Martin of Paul Venter just landed into the weeds, couldn't deal with it, gets a poor exit. Mordrake Claessens will be immediately on the hunt down, trying to get into the toe, pulling himself along side by side. Paul Venter immediately pulling his car across the nose of that Porsche, saying, no thank you, not going to happen here, Mordrake. Going to have to fight it out. That's going to allow Jason Farman to get a much, much better drive. Paul Venter off the circuit once again. All the shenanigans that are coming out from Paul Venter, who just can't keep it on track at the moment.
100%. I mean, we're seeing the elephant in the room live in action there last lap, Stephen. The turn 1 of Monza, unfortunately, taking a couple of victims. We saw a couple of the cars in the background, unfortunately, being tagged off. Paul Venter driving over the sausage curbs to avoid being collided with from behind and colliding with someone in front of him. And these are all the defensive measures these drivers are trying to take to stay alive in the sprint. And we see Werner Skuman going up on the outside of the BMW of Dylan Norcha, and we're going to see going in the inside. Dylan's going to go Dean's going to go defensive. Apologies, and he's actually going to keep Werner behind him. So this is the competitive racing that we're seeing now. People are trying to keep those positions sharp. As we mentioned again, it's a sprint race. There's not much time to do what you need to do. So people are going to be defending and attacking for their lives here, Stephen.
This is going to be a proper run for Fleming Bauer, who has got two very, very hungry drivers behind him. Dean looking left and right. Werner Skuman also trying to capitalize. And unfortunately, that is going to put Fleming Bauer in a bit of a compromising situation. I do see a bit of chaos going on as Paul Venter leaning onto the side of Gerry van Zyl. He gets past, and Daniel the Hitman de Villiers puts his nose in. Gonna properly torpedo his way through. Oh, contact once again. Oh, contact again.
Oh,
Paul Venter going into the wall, and we have got a little bit of a turnaround. Oh, Paul Venter trying to return to the circuit. Runs into the side. That is not Mark Hedberg. That was one of the...
Peter Meyer.
That is Peter Meyer. Yep, that is one of your cars that's unfortunately just trying to take his line. Suddenly gets a bit dinged up by one of the GT3s of Paul Venter.
That is major unfortunate. Paul getting tagged off by someone else on the track and then trying to rejoin. Obviously trying to keep those positions, as we mentioned. Oh, and someone has spun in the background that looks like Mark Henneberry.
Yeah, that's Mark, unfortunately.
That is really unfortunate. But yeah, unfortunately, Peter Meyer getting tagged over there as Paul Venter tries to re-enter the circuit. And that, I unfortunately would think it might be a bit of an unsafe re-entry. But that is unfortunately racing for you guys. They just have to continue as Werner Skuman looking up on the side, on the inside of Dean Norkia. Is he going to make the position? He's going to make the position clean. Dean Norkia gives him the space. Werner Skuman now takes 6th position, well, now 5th from Dean Norkia. He's going to be chasing to try and get that position back because this is a sprint. There's no time to waste.
Yeah, and it looks like everything's starting to open up. Gerry van Zyl keeping ahead of Ryan Barrington-Smith, who's just watched his teammate go venturing off into the Neverland. And now Ryan having to keep on the back of Gerry van Zyl. Reginald Muttolini dealing with Eric Kirstein at this point, trying to battle his way around, looking left, looking right, can't get past just as yet. Closing down under braking, had to do evasive maneuvers over the marbles. This is going to lose our time, it's going to lose our drive, and here comes Peter Meyer. Looks up on the inside, he's going to opt to go in the dirt to even try and get past the hybrid racing machine. Does so, big send, keeps it all together, and getting the pass done and dusted. Eric Kirstein now dropping into the clutches of Vietia Buerta, who is pushing right into the rear bumper, trying to force any move possible. Jude Neville now into the fight as well. So Jude's going to try everything possible. Vietia Buerta stuck on the outside. We'll have Jude on the inside line heading into the Scary and just managing to sweep across the nose. Absolutely incredible stuff. The drivers having to take every risky move possible here at Monza so they don't get caught up. Vietia Buerta getting a terrible exit though. We'll have the likes of Jude once again going for the inside line. This time Parabolica may be what he needs. Goes late on the brakes, tries to put the nose in, just couldn't get the drive just as yet. Going to try and carry a little bit more corner speed on the exit. Does get the sweep across the nose. Vietia Buerta will get a bit of a speed boost heading into turn 1, but Jude is not backing down from holding the inside line for quite some time.
Definitely not. No, Jude's going to definitely want to defend against Vietia Buerta. But again, looking up the inside, it's super competitive between these two. The Ferrari is just managing to carry each other in the slipstream constantly. And that's one of the biggest things here at Monza with the constant straights. The slipstream is king. As we see Joan Viviers coming around the outside now of Vietia Buerta, managing to carry a bit more speed out of turn 1. It seems like Vietia got a little bit of a bad exit out of T1. And now Joan Viviers holding the outside. We've got another guy joining the party.
That's Brandon Holtzhausen. Yeah, Brandon now getting to it. This is going to be proper sin. Couldn't get it done. Henry immediately comes in, trying to capitalize onto the fray of things. This is turning into a bit of an up and down battle because you're getting caught up in Constantinos. You're getting caught up in the fights. But what I'm starting to notice, Tristan, is this is a circuit that's lending, if you can't get the pass done, rather just keep behind the guys and not go and get on the attack. Otherwise, it compromises your drive so severe that even the rest of the cars that are way down suddenly have a mighty drive on you. As for Fears, once again looks for the inside of Vietia Buerta. Couldn't get the pass done as yet. Brandon Holtzhausen lost out a little bit of time, and Henry Plutt's going to have a go at him. Eric Kirstein, though, looks like he's had a bit of a problem coming back onto the track, losing positions left, right, and center as he loses out to Fears and Holtzhausen on the rejoin, and now in the clutches of Henry Plutt as well. Back up to 4th and 5th, though. Fleming Bauer and Werner Skuman having a good go at one another. This is going to be late on the brakes for Werner Skuman to try and swing the nose in. That Pandacity Mustang is all over the back of the Martin the Martian McLaren, battling his way through. Jaco Kutzer dealing with Dino Kier, who's also having a little bit of a scuffle at the moment, rubbing his racing between the two of them, but absolutely tremendous stuff. I do want to say, though, a big props to our streamers and content creators. Dean is actually one of the content creators here in South Africa, and his video editing skills, he got to show us a little bit during the downtime. I got to say, very impressive. But it really does show how these drivers are not only going and improving their racing and improving what they can do, trying to fight it out with the sponsors, but also content creation wise, they are looking to step it up that next little bit.
Absolutely, Stephen. We're seeing a little bit more commitment coming, not actually on the track, but as well outside of the track. And I mean, it shows how these drivers have a passion for sim racing, and it's an amazing thing to see. But I mean, back on board now with Dino Kier, still trying to fight back. That's Mondre Klaassen.
He loses it.
And he goes wide. Unfortunately, that's going to give Mondre Klaassen a better drive onto the back straight into Parabolica. He might make a move. Or he might keep it safe. Goes up the inside, looks up the inside. It might be a move going into Parabolica. Will Dino Kier give him the place, or will he go defensive? He goes defensive, holding the outside line now. Mondre Klaassen back onto the main straight. Who will have the better straight line speed? Dino Kier comes out in front. He's taken the position back from Mondre Klaassen. But now it's going to be a fight straight down to T1. Mondre Klaassen in the slipstream. Slipstream is king here at Monza. So will he be able to capitalize on a position into T1? We're watching tight. Very late move around the outside. Didn't know if he wanted to go up the inside or outside. stays on the outside. Dino Kier again going defensive, very close to touching each other over there. But Dino Kier once again defending like a champ, keeping in front of Mondre Klaassen, who's putting an immense amount of pressure on him. As we mentioned again, the sprint race is no joke. People need to make these positions before they close up.
It's lastminute.com, and I think the extreme maneuvering is actually hampering that time. We do have an accident that has just occurred between the 388 car and the 3 car. That would be Viertia Burta and Brandon Holzhazen. So let's go back a little bit and see what happened there as we take a
amount
look.
Of people driving.
Yeah, and it does look like Brandon is stuck on the outside. Viertia Burta on the inside, looking to go 3 wide. One of the hybrid racing there is Tianis Burta getting a little bit of contact. Brandon goes flying off the circuit though and rejoining next to the likes of Fifia. So this is turning into a bit of a wondering situation of what can they do. But back up towards the top though, Crystal's looking like not having the best of drives because he is sliding the car out. And that's allowing Jürgen Kleinans to get a little bit closer to him. So as a team perspective, I wonder if there's going to be the order of, listen, costing a bit of time here, we're hemorrhaging a bit, and Henry Mayer's opened up a 4.4 second gap. So let's see if we can try and break that down, or do you think that's going to be just keep going, a race to the end? I mean, there's so many roles come into it as a team of what can they do to improve, what do they need to do to try and claw up through it all, but is it worth going and running a team order perspective in the long run? Tristan, you will be able to give a bit more perspective into that, especially with a 45-minute race that we're having at the moment, and 33 minutes and 46 seconds left of it.
Absolutely. I mean, teamwork is such an important factor of the sport, but as you mentioned, I mean, if someone's struggling and someone behind is faster, team orders need to come in place, or drivers need to make the decision themselves, because sometimes the other driver could be faster, and in a sprint race such as this, those couple of positions can really benefit a certain driver if they are driving a lot faster. But as we're seeing on track right now, Fleming Bauer putting a lot of pressure on Van der Schoeman, trying to get the position back from him. It's been a constant fight between these two. The slipstream has been in their favor and not in their favor at the same time, constantly swapping positions on the back straight. It's all going to be down to the line though. I mean, 33 minutes left as we see the pressure is on Fleming Bauer, going a little bit wide there on the runoff over there of the Lesmos. And back up to the top now, Johan Kleinans, as we mentioned, behind Chris Stoltz, who's sliding a little bit in that Ford Mustang. Will he be asked to, go in front and try and chase down Henry Mayer, who's already put in a 4.2 second gap to Chris Stoltz? He's starting to run away with this race, and due to it being a sprint, there's not much time left to capitalize and try and gain a position for the Delta Negative Racing team. Yeah. So it's going to have to come down to who is faster.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be it. Werner Skuman, though, has got Fleming Bauer, but Jaco Kutzer, don't count him out. He's starting to claw back some time and get back into the fray of things. He's watching Dean Nokia, who's going defensive, a little bit leaning to the inside line to hold back Mordred Klaassen, but Mordred not going and doing the snap maneuvers like a little bit earlier. So maybe Xavier Undal, the team boss, going and jumping into the radio and saying, listen, stop with the moving all over the show. Let's think about the long term here. I need you to get right up against the back of him, gently move across. A little bit better. That actual move was a bit more controlled versus what we saw him a bit earlier. Bit more patient. Oh, straightens
contact.
up. Yeah, very, very light contact. But it was just enough to kill the drive on both drivers. And Daniel, the Hitman de Villiers, will now start to see a bit of a wounded battle ahead of him. So he's going to push hard, and he's pulling Jason Farmer into the fray of things as well. Ryan Barrington-Smith not too far back. So Dean Nokia and Mordred Klaassen is going to be very, very careful on their moves. Otherwise, they're going to have a de Villiers, Farmer, and Smith immediately coming in for the kill.
Absolutely. I mean, we're soon going to slowly start to see a battle for 7th here. I mean, we've got 4 cars lined up behind Dean Nokia, and slowly it's just going to start piling up more and more if they continue fighting like that. I mean, we saw Mordred Klaassen going for the dive into turn 1, Dean Nokia going extremely defensive, and it just unfortunately led to a little bit of bumper taps. Fortunately, no spins from any of them, but yeah, as we mentioned, it's going to start to slow them down. Down to Bertus Hugo now, 23rd place. He's keeping it strong. He's got the likes of Peter Maha hugging the back of him. Peter going around the outside. He seems like he's got a little bit more pace than the Ferrari in front, trying to see a way around him. But I mean, of course, it's Monza. You've only got so many places you can make a move. You can see him squirming, trying to find the fastest place to overtake him. Is it going to be the outside? Oh, and that Porsche losing a little bit of grip on the back end. As we mentioned, the tires slowly starting to degrade. We've gotten 15 minutes through this race. Tires are going to slowly start to be punished a little bit, but it all comes down to driver skill and driver talent, being able to manage those tires, bring it home, but still keep up the pace, Stephen.
Well, that's it. And Bertus Hugo, a big name in the world of South African sim racing, and the CEO of RaceFace.Pro, battling it out against Peter Meyer. Now, Peter Meyer comes from a very interesting background, if I remember correctly. He is one of the young guns that has really got excited with sim racing, even prior to joining with the Omnius team. Now going and having a bit of fun, trying out his hand in multiple different sims as well, looking to improve, looking to try and carry a bit more momentum and see what he can do, versus Bertus Hugo, who has got tons and tons of experience in the world of sim racing. But Mordred Claessen's trying his attack on Dean Nokia. We just got to see the back end of that. But it's interesting, we're starting to see generational battles happening out on track, where drivers are looking to prove themselves against the older generation versus the newer generation. I mean, this is just incredible, incredible stuff. And here at RaceFace.Pro, we're getting to see different skill levels, different generations, everyone trying their hands at moving on forward. But Ryan Barrington-Smith ahead of Daniel de Villiers. So those two managed to do a quick swap round. De Villiers now stuck in the tow. Looks for the inside line. The PWSR car busy darting and weaving, moving all over the show, trying to go and cause Ryan Barrington-Smith to look in that rearview mirror. Now, I've got to say a bit of a trick one here, and I know it's a very controversial one. I prefer not to race with a virtual mirror because of how distracting it is. I'd rather use the mirrors that are within the car. Now, when I raced with VR, that was absolutely fantastic. I'd watch the mirrors that I could just turn my head to, but a virtual mirror allows you to see so much more, but that can also be detrimental to one's race. Tristan, I know you just cringed at me saying that.
I wouldn't say I cringed. I mean, I think it definitely depends on the racing setups of people. You know, some people running slightly less FOVs, not actually being able to see both mirrors at one time, possibly needing that rear view mirror to assist and see who's behind them. But I agree, it definitely can be some form of distraction. But just to speak about distractions, it's us getting distracted right now because Eric Costain is making a move up on the inside of, I believe, is that
that's
Kleinans. So making a move around the outside, he's gotten it on the straight, no hassle at all, not even having to fight into turn one. And Ruan Kleinans is going to be under pressure now from Henry Platt behind him. I believe that's his name. I apologize if I...
That is...
Yes, Henry Platt. That's brilliant. Okay, cool. So Ruan Kleinans now with the pressure of the Team Tryhard Racing, Henry Platt behind. But he's also going to want to try and capitalize on the position he's just lost to Kirstein. So all these battles going on, who will come out victorious at the end of these 27 minutes, Stephen?
That's it. Kerry Funzel, though, getting into the fray of things. Jason Farmer just ahead of him. The BMW is starting to get the legs once again and starting to get into the fray of it. One thing we have noticed from the BMWs is the longer the race goes on, the more deadly that car actually becomes to the rest of the field, because it is so easy on the tires versus a Ferrari. Jason Farmer trying to push that little bit more. You can see bouncing over the curbs, trying to get as much grip as possible, try and straight line as much as possible, because the BMW doesn't have the best straight line into the fray of things. But it seems like it's going to be an outright charge for him to keep it going. I mean, this is just proper running all the way through. Jason Farmer going to stick it all and keep the battle going. Then Jaco Kutzer all over the back of Fleming Bauer, both in the McLarens, both in the similar machinery setups that are starting to vary a little bit, but also the color schemes does add a bit of it. I mean, Jaco Kutzer's got a GT stripe down the center of his car. That's an extra 30 horsepower already, where Fleming Bauer's got Martin the Martian, so he's carrying a passenger.
Absolutely. Martin the Martian is hopefully reading him some of those cheat codes to get a little bit better speed while he's got Jaco Kutzer behind him, because, I mean, the pressure that's being applied is quite immense as we start to get to the end side of this race, almost halfway through the sprint race here at RaceFace GT3, sponsored by PokerBet. So slowly going to start coming to an end, but I mean, we're still seeing the constant pressure applied here. Harry Funzel still putting the pressure on Jason Farmer ahead, and like you mentioned, that BMW, as the race goes on, starts to get much better grip as it manages the tires a lot easier compared to the Ferrari. They've both got great traction control models as well, which is a good benefit for both But it's all going to come down to who can control those tires better. Because as you know, there is no pit stop that will happen. So back to you, Stephen.
No, absolutely incredible stuff. Kerry Funzel now into the toe, trying to pull himself along the Pandacity BMW, going and getting cheered on by the crowd of the Pandacity team. Griffin Sim Racing has the entire team getting behind Jason Farmer as they look to try and close down on the hitman just ahead of him, of Daniel de Villiers of PWSR. But it is all mirror watching between the two of them, properly pushing each other down towards Parabolica. Kerry Funzel gently pulling out, going side by side, late on the brakes, gets a send in. Can he carry the momentum through? This is where you want to start straightening out a little bit, try and force the competitor to back off the throttle. Bit of respect shown on both sides there, really well done, where you wouldn't think they would try and keep as much of a door open as possible, but it looks like Kerry Funzel wanting to just leave the door open just in case Jason Farmer gets out of shape and can recover without going into the side of the car. That is just monumental stuff, but absolutely a great pass hooked in by Kerry Funzel. Jason Farmer, unfortunately, could not hang on to the back of it heading into T1, but maybe T1, T2 is wiped out. T3 not going to work out. It's going to have to be at the top for the Lesmos to get it all sorted out. But the team's really getting behind, and I have to say, Justin, we go and talk about the esport teams getting into the fray of things, and more of the sim racing teams becoming more structured just to participate in races like this, where there's a monster prize ball brought to you by PokerBet of 100,000 Rand in cash and PokerBet credits. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible, and our sponsors can also win. Not our sponsors, our viewers can also win, clicking on the link below in the description to be a part of the PokerBet family and have a chance to win prize money every single day, every single hour. Plus, with the whole Olympic Games going on, we've got that monster event happening where you can go and win prizes. You can win money per medal brought home. Gold, silver, and bronze on the line. PokerBet is really raising the stakes throughout all the sports. But I've got to say, nothing more than what they're doing here in sim racing, where they've gone and said, well, we're going to raise the stakes, got to put all the drivers out there and put on a absolutely phenomenal show.
Absolutely, Stephen. I mean, who would have thought? It's such an amazing thing to see. You coming out to watch a virtual Grand Prix for free, actually, whereas in real life you'd have to pay a bang for a buck. But, I mean, spectating completely for free and earning yourself the chance to win a couple of prizes thanks to our amazing sponsor at PokerBet. So it's always just a nice thing to see when there's support from teams, the support from the virtual spectatorship. That's a great thing to see. But I mean, back on board now with Dino Kier, still Mondre Klaassen pushing behind him, and as you can see, looking up the inside, trying to capitalize in these last 22 minutes now. You know that he still thinks, okay, cool, we've still got 22 minutes to fight, but those 22 minutes drop very quickly. As you drive more and more laps, time just starts to disappear. So eventually, he's going to have to make the decision of what he's going to do. Is he going to start pushing the car a little bit more, start using up a bit more tires and go for the pass on Dino Kier? Or is he going to try and still keep it safe? Because there is the likes of Ryan Barrington-Smith right behind him, actually, who's managed to catch up quite well to them, as we see Daniel de Villiers falling back a slight bit. But the likes of Ryan Barrington-Smith can actually catch up to Mondre Klaassen and Dino Kier, which could quite create a little bit of a battle for 7th again, Stephen.
Yeah, and taking a look at Mondre Klaassen's though, risky moves equal risky prizes. Getting a snap oversteer, trying to play his hand a little bit too early through Ascari has cost him a lot of time. Dino Kier going and accelerating, getting away from the rest of the field, trying to push himself that extra little bit more to catch up to the sharp end. But let's quickly go through who is where at the moment, because there's a lot to talk about here. Henry Mayer out in first place, 7.2 seconds ahead of the teammates of Crystals and Johan Kleinans, still running nose to tail between one another. Werner Skuman running in fourth place, Fleming Bauer in fifth, Jaco Kutzer in 6th, Dino Kier running in 7th with Mondre Klaassen on the back of him, and Ryan Barrington-Smith. Daniel Hitman de Villiers trying to improve. He is running in 9th place. Kerry Funzel looking to try and stand up at the top in 10th. Jason Farmer in 11th. 12th, Carrot Bucas, followed by Jude Neville, Reginald Mutaleni, Vietia Buerta is dealing with Brandon Holzhuizen onto the back of him. Paul Venter, Jean Verfeurs, Eric Hustain, Henry Platt, Mark Hedderbury in 21st, Tianus Buerta in 22nd, 23rd, Ruan van der Walt, followed by Peter Meyer, all the way down in 24th position. That is not ideal circumstances for the number 8 car, and we can actually go back and take a look at what happened to him that dropped him so far back. Yep, just a snap oversteer.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
Great defense actually from that BMW. I mean, having to go wide to avoid the Porsche spinning on the curb. That just shows you the reflexes and the concentration having to be used by these drivers. Having to avoid a car that is stuck in the middle of the track and he can't do anything about it. So unfortunate spin there from Peter Meyer, but he's going to have to continue the race. I mean, the best thing is always to see the line and never to give up, no matter the position. And I believe that's a quote that's always been pushed by the likes of Steven as well. I mean, you always just want to see drivers getting across that line no matter where they finish.
Now that's... Yeah, unfortunately, I think everyone's driven it saying a bit of an odd one. Actually took the inside line, middle of the corner, and clipped the curb. Usually we see on the exit that he gets caught out. And unfortunately, that has dropped him down to 24th. Bert Hugo in 25th. 26th, David Dreyer, Ruan Ferree, and Ruan Kleinans in the pits. So it looks like he's having a bit of a problem. But Eric Kirstein having a run with Henry Platt in that little fight, and both of them landing up with yellow flags. So let's go back to the number 55 car, Eric Hustain, and see what exactly happened to him as we jump on board. Down the gears, third gear, up over, too much curb again.
And sorry, takes another victim.
Yeah. Once again, it's at the middle of it, though. Guys are taking way too much curb on the entrance to it. So it's not even an oversteer that's kicking them off. It's literally just trying to turn in a straight line the corner a little bit. I think fatigue is what's going and slamming these drivers way down the action. And unfortunately, getting them all sorted out. Doesn't matter what car you're in. It's a little bit of airborne means that we don't quite have air brakes on our cars.
Unfortunately not. And I mean, I think it's also just people starting to lose a little bit of focus now. You know, getting a little bit tired is unfortunately a little bit later down as we actually go back to a possible incident over here, I believe.
Gerrit Bierkes also landing up in the weeds. So unfortunately, he got a little bit of a slide. And the rear just steps out. Middle of the track.
Good avoidance from that Ferrari.
That was Jude Neville, and I think he just changed the color of his seat. Going and seeing, he's coming around the corner, straight lines it instead of making the rest of it. Oh, I've got to say, nothing is more frightening than you come around a blind bend and suddenly you've got yellow flags around you. It's where's this car, where's this car, where's this car, and suddenly it's in the middle of the road and you've got to make that split-second decision whether you're going to go high, whether you're going to go low, or whether you're going to go visiting the passenger seat just to get a ride on the way through. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy style.
Absolutely. It all comes down again to those split-second reflexes. I mean, you mentioned going through a blind corner. You see the yellow flag in your sector, but you're not exactly expecting to see the driver's visor in the car in front of you turned around in the middle of the track. And its time slowly starts to dissipate as you need to make a decision in a decision like that. But as I was speaking about before, the battle now for 7th, I mean, battle for 6th now actually, has closed in. Mondre Klaassen still chasing Dino Kier, but Ryan Barrington-Smith has made up the ground. He's right behind Mondre Klaassen, so this has increased the pressure now for 7th, and we've got just about 15 minutes left of this race. So pressure is on now for 6th place. Dino Kier is going to have to fight, but he's also going to have to still try and monitor that car, not make too many late decisions and not make too many braking mistakes, as that could cost him possibly 2 to 3 positions, depending on how far he spins. As you see, Daniel De Villiers not too far behind Ryan Barrington-Smith, about 2.6 seconds. He can still capitalize on something there, but I mean, you can see the tires are going absolutely crazy there. Ryan Barrington-Smith losing a little bit of grip on the exit of Ascari, and we're going to slowly just start to see more and more of that. Mondre Klaassen looking up the inside of Dino Kier. Will he go for the position? Dino Kier closing in on him. He's not going to let him have it easy, but he's forced out wide. So is Ryan Barrington-Smith, forced out wide. two cars going out wide. Mondre Klaassen capitalizes very well. Dino Kier thankfully managing to stay behind him, but now looks on the outside, trying to take that position back. Ryan Barrington-Smith in the slipstream of Mondre Klaassen. It is now potentially 3 wide. Here comes Ryan Barrington-Smith, forcing Mondre Klaassen on the inside. Mondre Klaassen keeping it safe, and Ryan Barrington-Smith tucking in behind Dino Kier. Very, very tight into T1. The race is on here, Stephen.
I think the decision was, yeah, let's look at 3 wide, and then all of a sudden the brain said, maybe this wasn't the best idea in the world. The one driver, unfortunately, who had mechanical failure and is out of the race is Chris Sauls. He's unfortunately caught out in the fray of things, and if possible, I do think, he needs to get back, but Dino Kier getting a side-on with Ryan Barrington-Smith into the corner, and that has only played into the hands. There's Daniel, the hitman, goes up on the inside, gets a pass done and dusted, and Ryan Barrington-Smith will not only be going and saying, yeah, that wasn't the best plan, he's definitely going to be saying a few words under the helmet there, as Daniel de Villiers will be saying, thanks, bud, I'm more than happy with this, I'm going to keep going, you guys deal with your own fights. But Ryan Barrington-Smith's going to try come back at him. And I think what needs to be done now is actually just to try and reel in Dino Kier just ahead and try and pull back into that fight.
Absolutely. I mean, we went from seeing Dino Kier leading the pack of the top 6 and now all the way down behind Mondre Klaassen, and has Daniel de Villiers right behind him now. So he's going to have to watch out from potential dive bombs and attacks, especially coming back onto the main straight. That Lambo can carry some incredible top line speed. And so can that Aston Martin behind. Everyone's going to be in the slipstream now. Mondre Klaassen seems to have cleared 1.7 seconds already on Dino Kier, but as we see it now, we see it live. Daniel de Villiers is slowly getting caught up slightly by Ryan Barrington-Smith behind. I don't think any overtakes will be made into turn 1, but here comes Ryan Barrington-Smith. He's going to keep it tight. He's not going to go for any risky moves, but you can see how close it is, bumper to bumper. There is 13 minutes left of the sprint series, Stephen, and we're slowly starting to see more and more pressure applied. The tires are becoming looser. People are starting to stress a little bit more. It's becoming the final closing stages of this sprint race, and time is escaping. As we see, we go back to Paul Fenton now down into 16th place on the rear end of Vietia Berta. Makes a move right up onto the second part of the chicane of turn 1, tapping him a little bit to mention, hey, I'm here, don't push me out wide. Tucks in behind Vietia Berta, unfortunately losing a little bit of his run out of T1 from diving up on the inside, but now he's right behind Vietia Berta. Looks up the inside to make it a move up onto the chicane. Will he make it? He's looking there. Vietia Berta might give him space, might not. Oh, there's a bit of collision, and he's forced out a little bit onto the sand, and he's lost the drive. Vietia Berta manages to defend against Paul Fenter.
Now rolling the dice there, couldn't quite get it all hooked in. Gonna have to wait out for the dealer to give him another opportunity into the dirt though. Late on the brakes, tries to launch his way through. That is not how you want to get things done and dusted, but that has allowed for Fears to also get into the fray of it, as we're seeing battles up and down through the field. Paul Fenter has got the outside line that will allow him to do the sweep across the nose, heading into Ascari. Late on the brakes, gets the front end to bite. Vietia Berta losing out that momentum, has suddenly got for Fears looking left and right, saying, okay, buddy, I'm going to get into the toe, pull myself along, and you're going to have to deal with the beaver teeth of my BMW right behind him. And the Ferrari 296 also having a bit of a fight. Brandon Holthazen losing out to Reginald Mutalini into Parabolica. Reginald getting the pass, and you can see Brandon getting a bit of a snap oversteer on his way through. Ryan Barrington-Smith having a good go at Daniel the Hitman de Villiers into T1, T2. So we are having fights up and down through the battles, and with only one retirement so far, which I really, really do hope that we see Chris return just to do a couple of laps in that Mustang. He deserves to see the end, and after a stellar performance in qualifying, getting into Q1, he will get into first place. He needs to get back out there and at least see the checkered flag all the way through. I mean, it can't go down like this, and considering Henry Platt and Rowan Kleinons are currently still in the pits, they need to get going as well. So let's see how it's all going to play the cards out. Challenges out there, 6th ends. It's time for you to get that car back onto the track just for the last 10 minutes and 58 seconds. It has to happen. You've waited this long, You've waited the night out through it all. It's got to happen.
Absolutely. It's always a sad thing to see drivers going out, and I mean, we don't know if he's retired or put the car in the pit due to external factors, but back on board now, Vietia Buerta on the back of Paul Fenter. We even saw the BMW of Faviers behind losing lots of grip out of the Lesmos, so that's going to really challenge his run to try and contest for the battle for 15th of the year. Paul Fenter, though, leading Vietia Buerta out of Ascari now, so it's going to be a race to the finish line with just above 10 minutes left. Reginald Mitteleni in front of the pack there in 14th. Great drive from him so far as well, but Ryan Barrington-Smith still in 9th place, chasing down Daniel de Villiers in that Huracan, and it's going to be close. I mean, this is going to be a fight that's going to go on towards the line. We see Dino Kier has pulled a little bit of a gap, so he's given himself a little bit of breathing room, and so is Mondre Klaassen, 1.9 seconds roundabout from Dino Kier. So he's currently fighting his own battle right now, just trying to maintain the car, keep it safe to the end of the line. But currently, it's all eyes on Daniel de Villiers and Ryan Barrington-Smith, who are currently fighting for the battle for 8th. So Ryan Barrington going to keep on putting the pressure on Daniel de Villiers until these 9 minutes and 40 seconds are up. Constantly carrying that slipstream behind Daniel de Villiers. He's not going to let up until the race is finished. And we know from Ryan that he's not someone who gives up. He races up until the finish line, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Daniel de Villiers is going to feel the pressure of Ryan Barrington-Smith in that Aston Martin, and it's going to be a race straight to the finish line. And we actually, a little bit of a change up as I was about to finish up there. Ryan Barrington takes the position from Daniel de Villiers as he starts to lose the rear end in that Huracan. The tires are slowly starting to degrade now. We've spent over 39 minutes on track on the same set of tires, so tires are really starting to become a bit of a concern to the drivers, needing to start maintaining these tires before the end of the race, Stephen.
Now that's it, and also yellow flags waving for the 722 car. That is Tianus Buerta, who dived into the pits, so let's see what happened to him. Whether it all got out of shape and he pulled it into the pits, or whether the car just could not carry on. Oh, snap over steer. Oh,
massive accident for the McLaren.
Yeah, Parabolica going and absolutely decimating Tianus Buerta's car, and well, that's one way to knock the confidence clear out of the ballpark, unfortunately. Parabolica, not an easy one. As soon as you run onto that AstroTurf, that's pretty much you done and dusted. As we see Ryan Barrington-Smith really leaning on that right-hand side mirror of Dean Nokia, who is not too concerned at the moment, battling it out, trying to get into the toe, pulling himself along. But absolutely tremendous to see a BMW M4 GT3 up against a Aston Martin V8 AMR, looking to do everything he can. Under braking, couldn't get it quite sorted out. Going to carry on pushing his way through, trying to force a mistake to happen at this point. Another yellow flag coming up. This is for the number 8 car of Peter Meyer. So Peter Meyer running into a bit of a problem. He's got a very bouncy nose from the looks of it, so he's already had some damage on the car, trying to carry a bit of momentum. Runs out wide, snap over steer, and into the wall.
That's a big hit. It seems like Peter Meyer is just not grabbing Ascari by the neck and controlling it. I mean, Ascari has thrown him and spat him out a couple of times this race, and it's so unfortunate to see. It's really unfortunate to see, but it's, you know, the car starting to give a little bit of troubles with all that damage. But back on board now, Dina Kier did have a little bit of breathing room when Ryan Barrington-Smith was fighting with Daniel de Villiers, but no longer. As we see Ryan Barrington-Smith actually up on his inside going into Parabolica. He's going to easily take this position. He carried enough speed right up and into the front of that BMW. He's going to be wanting to fight back now. The last 6 minutes, he's going to try and take it a little bit wider to try and carry more speed in. Now he's going to want to be tracing Ryan Barrington-Smith down the main straight, grabbing that slipstream. But again, Daniel de Villiers now 0.8 tenths behind Dean Nokia. He's back in this fight after having a little bit of a rear end loss. And it's going to be tight, Stephen. It's going to be another fight once again for 7th. Mondre Klaassen now 2.2 seconds clear from Ryan Barrington-Smith. So he's out of this fight. He's most probably going to have 6th place in his grips as long as he can keep that car stable. But for Dino Kier, for the likes of Dino Kier, Ryan Barrington-Smith, and Daniel de Villiers, and possibly Jason Farmer, who's only 1.6 seconds behind Daniel de Villiers, this could definitely be some form of fight for 7th up until the line.
That's it. And talking about going and having some proper fights, we cannot count out what's currently happening with PokerBet The Olympics has also been renowned for dishing out upsets and surprises daily, which we even get to see here at Sim Race, with Sim Racing with the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series, where drivers are up and down through the order. So PokerBet will be offering the opportunity to get 10% of your stakes back per week for every 1,000 rand wagered and lost on the Olympic markets. So you can sign up today and get cash back on your PokerBet. So if it doesn't quite swing your way, there's an opportunity to get some funds back so you can get to the next stage of it. And for our drivers who have been going up and down through the order and running into some problems, they are going to be sticking it out till the very end and trying to claw their way back into the winning fray, as Daniel de Villiers closing down onto Dean Nokia, who's just going and holding up. But with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left, Henry Meyer out in first place, along with Johan Kleinans in second place. Werner Skuman out into third, so that is a bit of a change-up, as the Delta negative cars running out of sequence. Fleming Bauer in fourth, Jaco Kutze in fifth, Mordred Claessen's in sixth, Ryan Barrington-Smith in seventh, eighth place Dino Kier, Daniel de Villiers, Jason Farmer, Kerry Fonsale, Jude Neville going and making his way in 12th. 13th is Brandon Holthazen, Reginald Mutileni, Paul Fenter having a good run as he looks to try and get past Reginald. The two streamers having a good run at each other. Viertia Burta sitting at 16, 17, Sean for Fears, Mark Henneberry, Carrot Bucas, Eric Kirstein, Ruan for the Vault, Bertus Hugo out there in 22nd, 23rd, Davy Dreyer, Ruan Free, Henry Platt, Peter Meyer, and Ruan Kleinards in the pits. But it does look like for our Delta negative, it's been a broken train from them. So they're going to have to try and claw their way back into the fray of things. Unfortunate for Kleinans, who runs out wide, skipping over the curb. Not an easy time out there for him as he loses out the drive. Paul Fenter onto the back of Reginald Mutileni, trying to carry as much momentum as possible. Yep, not quite ideal lines to get the most momentum there, but Reginald saying, you could go out wide, I can go wider. And that's exactly what they're doing. It's tit for tat between the two, and Paul Fenter will have the drive, getting past Reginald Mutileni, who's going to try and tuck into the slipstream, pull himself through Ascari, and possibly Parabolica is going to be his last-ditch effort for the last 3 minutes and 9 seconds of this race, Tristan.
Oh, absolutely. Reginald is going to be screaming about that one. I mean, he probably saw Paul Fenter in his mirrors giving a bit of a laugh. He ran a bit wide, and then, whoops, I forget to brake into the next Lesmo, and he goes wide. So he's going to be chasing down on Paul Fenter now. Let's see if he can carry enough speed out of Parabolica, potentially gaining enough slipstream and coming up the inside of Paul Fenter. Only 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go. It's about 1 or 2 laps left. He doesn't have much time left to capitalize, and he wants to grab 14th back from Paul Fenter. I believe it's 13th now, actually. So let's see, can he carry that slipstream? It doesn't look like it's going to be enough to make an overtake unless he goes for a risky dive bomb. He plays it safe. Paul Fenter might actually keep this position for the time being, but you can see Reginald is aggressive, hugging up on the backside of that Aston Martin, wanting to grab that place back from him. I mean, the mid-engine car having the slightly better rotation compared to that front-engine Aston Martin, allowing him to grab a little bit better rotation through turn 1. But now it's going to be down to these two for the final 2 minutes. Reginald looking on the outside, looking on the inside. He can't really see a position, but he has to play it safe. But you can see how close these two are driving up for the final 1 minute and 55 seconds. Who will claim 13th position? Will it be Paul Fenter? Will it be Reginald Mutileni? Or will Viertia Burta come in from potential mistakes 2.6 seconds away and steal it from them? I mean, anything can happen. Down to Brandon Holthazen, currently sitting behind Jude Neville, also been fighting the entire time. The two guys from the same team. So again, team orders are going to come into play. But I think this is going to be a fight to the line.
Reginald drive-through. Reginald's got a drive-through. That is for track limits exceeded. So Reginald Mutileni in the final minute has now gotten a drive-through, and that has pretty much put that one to bed for Reginald Mutileni, who runs out wide. And I think that's pure frustration that is now kicked into fray, as he will have Jim on the radio comm saying, you've got 3 laps to serve this penalty, and knowing that you only got a minute left, you're going to have to serve it now, get back out. and unfortunately going to drop way down the order in the fray of things. So, as we keep an eye on Brandon Holzhausen, who's in the tow with Jude Neville just ahead of him, two LNR drivers having a good go. I don't think his team orders between the two of them other than who's going to take home the bragging rights, and Brandon just not able to get ahead of Jude. A little bit of a contact under braking, getting caught out there, saying, oh, that wasn't quite my intention for you to come to a stop, but that just happened. We're going to keep going. 25 cars still remaining, 24 still circulating on a circuit at the moment. Couple of retirements, unfortunately, for our drivers who have lost out that little bit of time. Dino Kier keeping ahead of Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, who really knows how to dial it in, and will be looking for a full send to get by in loss 3-2-1, and that will be that, as Henry Mayer coming across will be smiling as he's looking to take another win for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. Round 2 done and dusted for Henry Mayer. Johan Kleinans will go and capture that second place after a hard-fought fight. And third place going to Werner Skuman, the two Mustangs running second and third. Fleming Bauer comes across the line in fourth place. Mordred Claessens, after a monumental effort, will be finishing up in fifth position. Ryan Barrington-Smith running in sixth. Dean Nokia running in seventh, with Daniel the Hitman de Villiers right behind him, running in eighth. Jason Farmer right behind, followed by Gerry van Zyl. Jude Neville still trying to keep up the momentum at the moment, with Brandon Holzhausen on to the back of him. Jude getting a little bit squirrely through Parabolica, trying to catch the car every step of the way. Will go and capture that 11th position. Brandon in 12th. Paul Fenter comes across the line in 13th. 14th goes to Vietia Buerta, followed by Reginald Mutileni, who will have a 30-second penalty. That'll drop him down through the order. He loses it into the wall. For Fears comes across the line. He's going to gain some time. Gerrit Bucas, Eric Kirstein, Ruan van der Walt, Bertus Hugo, Davy Dreyer, Ruan Free, Henry Platt, and Ruan Kleinans rounding out our field here tonight. And what a monumental run, Tristan. But congratulations has to go out towards Henry Mayer.
Absolutely. Henry Mayer managed to keep first place the entire time, taking it away at the race start and managing to jump right at the race start, which is a great move from him, and then managing to keep a decent 12-second gap from second place. As you can see there, Johan Kleinans wouldn't have had a chance, unfortunately, in the sprint race to catch Henry Mayer. So absolutely phenomenal race from to him. It's been a great race to all the drivers, actually, and so unfortunate for Reginald Mutileni, unfortunately grabbing a drive-through on the final lap. Such an unfortunate thing to see, but I mean, overall, great racing from everyone.
That is Bennett. And after a very, very long evening with the Kunos service still to this day, still down, which is properly frightening, but we still managed to get the race done and dusted. And right here at RaceFace.Pro, and with our associate sponsors, also our title sponsor, PokerBet, we were going to make this race happen no matter the cost of it. We're going to be like that post office, whether it's rain, shine, hail, or snow, we will go racing. And congratulations to all the drivers on a monumental effort, as we take a look back to a couple of the highlights on what happened with that turn one. Gerry van Zyl getting turned around, and it was just chaos for a lot of our drivers. Peter Meyer getting caught out into the fray of it, and it does look like Tias Buerta was caught out as well. Proper bit of fun. But Tristan, I've got to say, it's been an exciting one. Your closing thoughts for Monza?
Well, it's been a surprisingly better Monza than we've seen in past endurance racing, other forms of racing. Monza can go a lot worse, especially on T1. So glad that we managed to keep it somewhat clean. Unfortunately, couple of drivers missing out on seeing that checkered flag, and it's always a sad thing to see when drivers are not able to finish due to whatever reason. And still managing to get such a big grid after so many issues with Kuno servers. Currently finishing this at 11:15 in South Africa. I mean, amazing commitment still from some of these drivers who still have work and all that kind of stuff tomorrow, still deciding to commit to this championship and pushing it to their final few limits in the sprint race, and finishing off proud, finishing off loud, and finishing it off clean. So well done to everyone who managed to finish the race, and super unfortunate to those who were not able to.
Well, let's go and bring a couple of interviews in, starting off with the Pandassi driver of Werner Skuman on his run. Werner Skuman, welcome to the commentary box, going and dragging you out of the interview room, the cool-down room. Congratulations on the race effort. How are you feeling after that? A proper run all the way through and getting the Mustang onto the podium.
Hey Stephen, thanks. Yeah, the stream almost did some very colorful language being used as I was busy talking with the guys. But yeah, now I'm very happy. It's sad for Chris that he disconnected, but I'm very lucky for it. But yeah, I just got hit on turn 1, and from there it was just try and get back to the front.
So I've got to ask the question of how was your tires during the entire race? I mean, like, it must have been worn out. It must have been losing grip towards the end, and you were just on roller skates, or was it feeling okay?
Yeah, so I think at the end, like literally at the end, the last 2-3 laps, my tires started to get back to me. But I think that is just due to the temperature coming down a little bit. In the middle, it was kind of bad, and being behind Fleming and Norkia at the start, I think it just ate my tires a little bit too much.
Oh, absolutely monumental running there. Tristan, anything you would like to go and say or ask for our third place driver of Werner Skuman from Pandassi Infiltrate?
Nothing really to ask. Just well done on the recovery drive. Obviously, you mentioned that you got tapped near the race start, and well done on bringing it back for a podium finish. It's great to see the commitment and the pressure being applied to some of the other drivers, and we hope to see it continue throughout the rest of the sprint series.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
tomorrow is gonna be better.
It's gonna get wild. It's gonna get crazy. Couple of points lined up, and still that massive prize pool on the line. Thank you very much, Werner Skuman, and congratulations on your third place.
Thanks, Steven.
Well, with that being said, let's bring in the second of our Mustangs, and getting second place in the race, let's bring in Johan Kleinans. Mr. Kleinans, hello. Welcome to the commentary box. Good to have you here. What a run from your side. Delta Negative looking to run a 2-3, and suddenly that all changed up for you. And how are you feeling after that? It looked like it was a bit of a busy train between you and your teammate.
No, it was an awesome race. A bit lonesome, to be honest. Unfortunately, Chris had a power outage, so he sort of disappeared. But super happy with the result. Happy with the pace. Henry was super quick, so we just played it safe. Can never be unhappy with a podium. So.
What was your thoughts with the Mustang down the incredibly fast straights? I mean, Tristan brought up of how powerful the Mustang is down the straights. What were you feeling, considering you've driven a variety of vehicles, McLaren, Ferrari, but now the Mustang's something completely new to you, and now getting to drive it in anger here at Monza?
Yeah, look, it's super fun around here. Having that state advantage, it's reassuring in a race, especially when you're fighting for position. And out of corners, it just gives you such an edge. The car has so much torque, so keeping it in check sometimes is difficult, but it's super fun to drive. And very unique in comparison to the Ferrari and so on. It requires a bit more. Definitely a lot more tail braking for sure, but it's such a fun car.
Well, I can see Tristan going and clicking his pen and working out a few things. Tristan, over to you.
So I just wanted to also ask, obviously, there was, as Stephen mentioned, and as I mentioned early on in the race as well, there seems to have definitely been some form of Mustang domination with the Mustang having the straight line speed. But my more important question is to ask, obviously, you witnessed a teammate dropping out of the race due to unforeseen circumstances. Tell me, what was going through your mind, and were there any form of team orders from the guys back at Delta Negative when you witnessed your teammate drop out?
No, look, initially when we were racing close, it was for me. Chris beat me in the qualifying. I felt he deserved the position. At times I was a bit quicker. He struggled a bit initially, especially sector 2 at the beginning of the race. But we just were keeping pace. That was the game plan. When he dropped out, initially it was a bit of panic. There's always that fight in ACC when someone disconnects or loses a bit of connection that some accidents happen. But then once he was gone, it was just a case of settling in. At least bringing in the result for the team, and just getting the result. So 100%. Super happy with how it played out. It's unfortunate for us as a team. It would have been a fantastic result, but it's one race of many, and there's
100%.
We'll compete again.
A potential double podium missed out, but well done on capitalizing on the dropout and still maintaining to achieve second place in that Mustang. We hope to see it continue within the sprint series, and have a great night further, Mr. Jahan.
Thank you. Enjoy the evening.
Absolutely incredible stuff for the Delta Negative. Well, Tristan, I'm going to leave the last interview to you for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series Round 2 winner. Let's bring in Henry Mayer, getting the checkered flag once again, making Round 1 and Round 2 a podium win for him.
Henry Mayer? Mr. Henry Mayer. Henry Mayer?
Hello?
How's it, man? How are you doing?
Fine, and you?
Good. Well done on once again achieving first place in the GT3 Sprint Series, Round 2 now at Monza. How are you feeling? What's going through the head, man?
That was a fun race. Hot tires, didn't like it. But it was a clean, good race. The start was exciting.
100%. We witnessed you on the start taking the position away from the person in first place. You managed to keep first, and we see you just dominate throughout the entire race, creating quite a margin of a gap, and sitting very comfortably in first place. So how did the dominating feel? How did it feel to sit in the front, having a clean gap behind you?
It felt actually kind of lonely.
Oh.
Seems to sound that way, but it was mostly for testing for tomorrow actually, so it's fine.
Yeah, so it seems it's something that most drivers do. They come and attend the sprint series, make sure everything's good for the main series for tomorrow. But Henry Mayer, well done on achieving first place for the second time in a row. You are currently the championship leader for the sprint series, and we hope that the luck and the fortune and the skill just continues for you going into round 3 next week.
Thank you very much. I hope the same.
Thank you very much. Well, have an absolutely fantastic night, and congratulations once more.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Absolutely awesome stuff. Henry Mayer going and letting us know. But let's talk about what's to come up, Tristan, because next week we are heading out to the world of Zandvoort. And I've got to say, I'm really excited to see how that's going to turn out. But we're going to say goodbye to Monza. We're going to be moving on to our next round. It's just absolutely incredible stuff that's going to be happening throughout the racing. I've got to say, the PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series powered by RaceFace is just getting bigger, better, stronger, louder, and faster as they make their way through. And if you want to go and also win, sign up with PokerBet and don't miss out on their epic upcoming promotion where you can win a share of a whopping 300,000 Rand. More details are going to be happening, so keep an eye out on PokerBet social media, and this is not one to be missed at all. So lots going on, not only for the Olympics, not only for sim racing, but also another upcoming promotion that's going to be brought to you by PokerBet. But Zandvoort next week. Tomorrow night we return to Monza for the big one, the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship. 150,000 Rand on the cards for the drivers in both cash and PokerBet credits. This is going to be a wild one, Tristan. I've got to say, super excited to see this.
Absolutely. We saw great speculation from the sprint race, and that was only 45 minutes. Not really too much strategy involved, no pit stops. A couple of damage here and there for some of the drivers may have resulted in a pit being needed, but I from what I remember, I don't see any form of pit stops happening in this race. So tomorrow night, please make sure you guys attend tomorrow night, because tomorrow night is going to be essentially the sprint series on an absolutely different level. Longer racing, more drivers, different classes, and a whole lot more fun, a whole lot more skill, and drivers are going to be pitch focused, as you heard from Henry Mayer. Some drivers even using the sprint series to practice for tomorrow night's race and capitalize on gaining those couple of points, because as we know, PokerBet has made the prize pool an absolutely phenomenal 150,000 Rand for the championship series that will be happening tomorrow night.
Now, it's going to be an incredible one. And make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the bell notification icon. A massive, massive thank you to PokerBet and all our associate sponsors for being a part of the racing here at RaceFace.Pro. And we will see you tomorrow night. And like always, a massive, massive thank you to Tristan Herbst for being a part of the commentary team, jumping in and giving up some time away from the seat this time, getting behind the microphone. Always fantastic to have a new voice being beside me. So Tristan, thank you once again from my side and on behalf of RaceFace.Pro as well. But we're going to say goodbye to you guys. We're going to say farewell for now, and we'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship. So you can all say it with me. A good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody, from the THT Productions.